horror material. We're done with it. And no more Disney talking. Well,
no more
mind.
trash talk.
No more trash Disney. We have potentially
we have a fluke.
We have a fluke Disney that we hope still pays off.
Yeah, because
let's
you never
talk
know.
about Andor,
the show I did not want, but turns out I needed.
Yes.
Yes. So okay, Rogue One is my favorite of the recent Star Wars films. And when I say recent, I mean
Disney era.
Post original trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean post original. So that includes the prequels, that includes Disney, everything.
Right.
So after, you could say like after Return of the Jedi, after that, it's Rogue One. Like, I mean, you could technically say it's my second favorite, to be honest, because I'm not the biggest New Hope fan. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite.
Right.
Return of the Jedi, I love some of that movie, but some of it, I'm not a fan of. Tonally, it battles itself towards that third half. Between Ewoks, and then you got the great stuff with the Emperor and Vader and Luke.
That's the gold. Return of the Jedi gold right there.
Yes.
The three.
But it battles between, you have to keep going back to Endor and Ewoks and all that shit. But so I could actually technically say that Rogue One is my second favorite Star Wars film.
Look at that. All right.
So Rogue One, despite all of its problems and all of its reshoots and all the battles that it had to struggle with, having to struggle with the tons of reshoots, having to switch directors early on, having a whole new composer having to get brought in because of all the problems that it had in production and all that. That movie had a big uphill battle to get made. And for it to turn out as good as it did, with all the characters it had to juggle, with the story that it had to tell, I thought it came out very well.
Right.
And the type of story and the way it ended, that's my kind of ending. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And for when I heard about Andor coming out, I was like, I don't really know if I care.
Yeah, I at first didn't really care either. I was like, why? We know how it's going to end. And we just I just wasn't really that fascinated until we did trailer reaction. We actually visually got a chance to see it. And then my interest got piqued. I was like, this looks like a different visually. It looks real world, lived in.
Right.
This looks like Rogue One looked.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's just so super clean sci-fi with green screen in the back.
Yeah.
And everything looks fucking fake.
Yeah.
This looks like real world lived in. Because let's be honest, even if you enjoyed Obi-Wan, to each his own, but let's be honest, Obi-Wan looked cheap.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi show looked cheap.
Right.
It did.
And
Ewan McGregor deserves better, and you as fans deserve better. But we decided to give it a shot. We didn't know, we didn't have high expectations, but we were interested.
Yeah, and it was because of that trailer,
right,
that it was kind of like, well, maybe there's a little bit of hope there.
But
trailers have lied before.
That's right. But before we watched it, what made me go, okay, I think I'm gonna really like this show, was before we got around to watching it, that whole entire week, I didn't watch reviews, but I kept seeing thumbnails of other YouTubers and reviewers on the first 3 episodes of Andor. And I kept seeing, this is a waste of time. I kept seeing, this is the most boring piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. I kept seeing, this is the worst thing the Star Wars franchise has ever done. I kept seeing that this is the most boringest thing Star Wars has ever done. Or, she's talked to some people and I've talked to some people. They couldn't even get past the first episode. They watched the first episode and immediately gave up, and they will never return to the show.
They're bored. Yeah.
After hearing all of that, I already knew I was going to like the show. Yeah. I already knew by default, because we're at this point with Star Wars. And I love Star Wars, but we're at this point where we need something different. We need a palate cleanser. We're tired of the same old shit.
Yeah.
Mandalorian season 1 gave that to us, and we enjoyed Mandalorian season 2. And the Mandalorian's a good example of, you can keep things grounded and serious, but then you can have the fan service. That's why we're big fans of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But Book of Boba shit was fucking atrocious. Obi-Wan Kenobi
had so much potential.
Had a lot of
goddammit,
potential.
and it just pissed it all away.
No, we're gonna make it for 5-year-olds. Fuck you.
And that's the problem that I'm having with Star Wars, with the Disney Star Wars right now, is that, and you can disagree with me. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I am ready for Star Wars to pull away from Skywalker,
yes,
and Vader.
I've been saying this forever.
And even though this is in between all of that,
right.
and this still takes place within
that
time frame,
right?
Because obviously this is set in between episode 3 and episode 4.
Right.
It's still in between.
Right.
Luke Skywalker's out there, but he's a little kid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And obviously Rogue One, you see Darth Vader. There's a little bit of Vader in there, and you see Tarkin, and you see bad CGI Tarkin, bad CGI Leia, and all that, but they're not the central focus of it. And that's the thing with Andor as of right now. We're away from that.
Yeah.
And what Andor is focusing on right now is the Empire.
Right.
We're seeing a side of the Empire right now that we've never really been able to see before. We've always been told that the Empire is evil, and that's fine.
Right.
But we've never been shown why, the inner workings of it. And that might not be interesting to some people, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm loving how arrogant we're actually seeing them right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing them ignore the signs. We're seeing them walk around like they own the place.
Yeah.
We're seeing them just waltz around, not even like in a hurry after somebody when they should be chasing people. They're just walking around like, oh no, we'll catch them. No big deal. We're seeing them being warned of a possible rebel alliance forming, and they're just like, no, I don't want to hear it, because we're the Empire and fuck you.
Right.
I'm enjoying where we're going with this. And from my understanding, we're going to be 12 episodes in the first season, 12 episodes of the second season.
None of this 6-episode bullshit.
And what this show is allowing us to do right now is build.
Yes.
And
world building.
The first 3 episodes.
Getting to know the characters, spending time with them.
The first 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes, what they did when they released them together, and I can understand why people weren't on board with that first episode, is because the first episode was a trilogy in a story.
Right.
It was absolutely tied together. It was kind of an hour-and-a-half movie, if you will.
Right.
It was connected.
The first 3 episodes.
The first 3 episodes of Andor were connected. You couldn't really watch it without going on to the next one, going on to the next one. So I could see why they released them all at the same time. It was setting up Andor. It was setting up all these characters around him. It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
And it was setting up this one place where he was at. And it was setting up, it was going back and forth. It was kind of doing what Boba Fett was trying to do in his first couple of episodes, but failed miserably because it was shot horribly. It was irritating. It was stupid. I didn't care about the fucking Tusken Raiders and all their fucking bullshit that they were doing.
Yeah.
And it did successfully what Boba Fett did not. And it showed the back and forth when he was a kid. And oh my God, this movie does not spoon feed you. The show does not spoon feed you anything. You have a flashback with him as he's a kid, and they're speaking another language, and they don't subtitle
no subtitles.
I was blown away. Because they trust you as an audience, because they keep it so simple. They don't treat
you like a fucking idiot.
They treat you
with respect. This audience is smart enough to stay with us, and we're going to reward them.
They basically,
so far, that's what we're getting.
They're basically keeping it to the point where you should be able to understand this. And I'm like, thank you.
Yes.
It's so refreshing. And the seeds that they're planting right now are so intriguing to me. And I feel like it's so refreshing because I'm so used to shit like Boba Fett and even the shit that went down in Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And the shit that happened in
you're used to little baby Leia, Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Running away from the villains that can't catch her, and the villains running into trees.
Yeah.
That's what you're used to.
And the shit that happened in most of the trilogy. I am so accustomed to
the Disney trilogy,
I am so accustomed to, and even the George Lucas trilogy and some of it.
Right.
I am so used to the horrible tonal inconsistencies where you're trying to tell a serious story, but then you have to keep the attention of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you're trying to tell a serious story, but then, oh, jangle those keys, jingle the keys in front of the kids so that they can, you know,
Right.
so that they can keep up,
Right.
so that you can get their attention. And so, well, that distracts me. And it's like, oh,
kids
well,
aren't gonna like this show.
I'm trying to pay attention to the serious story, but oh, we've got all this Jar Jar Binks shit over here, and we got all this stupid shit going on over here.
Right.
And it's so refreshing to not be talked down to.
Yes.
And it's so refreshing to see things actually get set up story-wise, character-wise, things that are actually like important, that you can see being building blocks being set up, that you can actually see that are probably going to get paid off in the future.
Right.
And not have irritating, unfunny jokes being slapped in the face with every 5 to 10 minutes. You're not getting any of that. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're actually getting dialogue.
Yeah.
We're actually getting dialogue and people talking to each other and meaningful dialogue that's actually going somewhere.
Yeah.
I can see why some people don't like the show, because it's not traditional Disney Star Wars that we've been getting for the past 10 years at this point.
That's fine. We're just we're talking about our opinion, but that's fine. If you didn't like it, that's fine.
But, so I'm liking the direction that it's going so far.
Yeah. Well, it's from the creators of Rogue One, so that's why we have a shot here.
And you know, I'm sorry if this isn't your bag, but you know, you've got Boba Fett and you've got
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
And you know, hopefully Mandalorian stays its course, because it's kind of a mixture of the two.
Right.
It's enough of both worlds where it's serious, but it's also got some fun stuff in it.
Got some grounded stuff. Yeah.
But so far, I hope this Andor, I hope it stays where it's going, because I feel like it's been so long since Star Wars has not treated me like a goddamn baby. And it's so refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And in the first episode, our boy just straight up caps a motherfucker in the head. Look at this. Does this look like Star Wars to you? Look at this. I love it. I love the visuals in this. And like I said this on a previous stream. I said, I love Star Wars. Not when it sucks, but I love Star Wars. And I grew up with it. I had the toys as a kid. Samurai Guy loves the combination of fantasy with sci-fi. I love the glowy sticks. I love when fight choreography is legit and badass, and I love that kind of stuff. I love the music. I love the Force, the Sith Lords. I love the fantasy element. I love the sci-fi dogfighting, the X-fight, you know, the X-wings and shit. I love all that stuff. I love Star Wars when it's good. But there's absolutely nothing wrong if you want to create stuff just for kids. I was a kid. I grew up with it. Nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with making something for the adults. Also, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking Star Wars seriously. And I think a lot of people are missing that point. When we were watching the episode and we were introduced to kind of like this police force, they were kind of trying to hunt Andor and stuff like that. They knew some shit was going down. There was like a 5-minute to 8-minute dialogue between the guy who was in charge of the police precinct, you know, and his second in command. And this is the first time we're introduced to both of these characters, and they have a long dialogue back and forth. And I turned to her and I was like, oh, Star Wars fans are going to hate this. I immediately were like, oh, they're not going to like this at all. They're not going to like this. But that dialogue between the brand new characters we were introduced to, by the third episode, there's a big action sequence chase that happens. And the second in command officer gets really fucked up in the head, affected by it. There's weight there. If we didn't have that opening dialogue with those two characters, if we weren't introduced to those two characters, if we didn't spend some time with those characters, that action set piece that we got later would have no weight. It would feel like fluff. It would feel like you're watching the fucking Power Rangers that are riding their colored scooters in Book of Boba Fett, and you don't give a shit. There's nothing wrong with taking Star Wars seriously, letting the world build letting characters develop. There's nothing wrong with that. And hopefully it doesn't disappoint us by the end. But we're 4 episodes in, and right at the beginning, the first episode, he had to make a decision right there. I'm going to kill somebody from the fucking, from the Empire. There's no way I'm getting out of this situation. Murder. Boom. Right in that fucking head. Right in the first episode. And again, I think you mentioned it too, like when we were introduced to his past and his tribe, and there's no subtitles. I think you said, oh, Star Wars fans are going to hate this. They're going to fucking hate it. But seeing the early beginnings of the rebellion, people getting pushed to the brink, I think could be fascinating. And it's so far, with 4 episodes in, we haven't been disappointed, especially with the visuals. And Skarsgård Prime is what we're calling him. Is fucking amazing. This guy's such a good actor. And his character, we're loving his character so far. But once in a while, when it's time and when it's needed, you'll have an action set piece here and there. But you got to let the story build. You got to let these action set pieces have some weight, But yeah, I can't wait to see what the next episode brings us. And another thing we mentioned, I was going to mention earlier, but I forgot I just remembered until now. And it's the same actress that has played Mon Mothma from Rogue One. So it's great seeing her return in this series. But for something that people are so bored with and they can't even make it through an episode, we are like, oh shit, it's over. That's where we're like, oh fuck, it's over already. Fuck.
It's like, it's literally just when we want to see what's happening next. Yeah. The director credits are rolling. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where this goes. It's like I said, it's a breath of fresh air for me, for someone who's so burned out from the Star Wars property, the Disney Star Wars properties. Yeah. Who couldn't stomach Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. Who was so sorely disappointed with Obi-Wan, who wanted to love the show. Who's very trepidatious about Mandalorian only because of the trajectory of Disney Star Wars right now. Even though I've enjoyed Mandalorian so far, right? We don't want it to run into the ground. I'm just nervous.
Maybe third season. Hopefully, is the last. Yeah, end on a great ending for
Mon Mothma.
Sorry, I said it wrong.
No, he said Mon Mothra.
Mothra.
Someone saying Mon Mothra.
Just remember, OGP. He said he wants to watch it. Just remember, man, it's slow burn. Okay.
It's espionage.
It's espionage.
It's just it's a slow burn with building.
Yes.
It's literally, you see people. It's like every time I see this, like every episode I'm watching, I see the writers putting things into place. I literally see things every time there's dialogue. And then I see a scene several scenes later, I can just see somebody putting things into place. And I'm just like, I am loving this because it's been so long since I've seen this.
Yeah. In Star Wars.
I mean, it's just, and I'm just loving it. That by the end of that 3rd episode, when you have this scene where you've got Andor escaping from the planet that he's on, and it's juxtaposed to the scene where he was originally escaping from the planet that he came from as a child. And you've got the whole town that's had to make this really hard decision in fighting back against this police force that was looking for Andor. Right. And they fought back, and they realize what they've done in fighting back. And you got the police force that just got their asses handed to them, and the music is swelling, and it's a dialogue free at this point because everyone's just gotten into this firefight. Yeah. And people have died. Yeah. People have died on both sides. Yeah. And Andor's escaping, and it's parallel with a scene of him escaping as a child, and you see the casualties on both sides, and you see people's faces, and you see the weight of what they've done, and you see that there's going to be consequences. Yeah, and it's all dialogue free. All dialogue free. And you see it in their faces, like, oh my God, shit is going to go down. By the end of that 3rd episode, I'm like, I didn't know I needed this show. I didn't even want this show, but oh my God, here I am just clamoring for the next episode. And it's been so long since I've had that in a show. Yeah.
And you have
There's
not a lot of action
because,
like I said,
it took them 3 hours.
I got them earlier, but we got the sex bots are back. But yeah, like again, that you feel like there's weight to the action scenes, you know. And I love Skarsgård, man. When Andor gets a drop on the second in command police chief, the lieutenant or whatever, right away you hear Skarsgård in the back, shoot him, kill him, like right in the background. He's got him. He's like, just kill him, and he's trying to talk to him and get information from the officer. And then you hear Skarsgård in the back again. If you don't shoot him, I'm going to shoot him. Like I'm loving this. We're getting our balls back a little. We're getting our balls back a little bit. But yeah, we're enjoying it so far. But you know, we get it. We get it if it's not for you. But just remember this: a lot of people out there, they take shots at fans that like Star Wars, and they say, "Oh, Star Wars is just for babies." Empire Strikes Back,
it's boring.
It's boring for babies.
Like, okay,
it's okay. It's all right to have a little goddamn respect for being a Star Wars fan. Like, it's all right. It's okay to take Star Wars seriously once in a while. You can have your fun popcorn stuff. You can have your fantasy. You know, like I said, I'm a fan. But it's okay to have something different once in a while. And I hope it ends well. Well, we know how it really ends, but I hope the show ends well. And we hope Mandalorian season 3 is good. But yeah,
I would love to
4
see,
episodes in. We are in this show.
I would love to see a little bit more of a tie-in with Rogue One by the end of the series somehow.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to do that.
I would love to see if they could deviate a little bit and maybe not from Andor's perspective, but maybe show some of the characters that do appear in Rogue One. Maybe show their perspective somehow.
Maybe
without showing Andor. Get a little introduction to them. Right, without showing Andor's perspective, of course, because they don't meet until the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
because I love Rogue One. I always said Rogue One would have benefited so greatly if it had been a series.
Yes, it would have been a better
just because
series,
of the amount of characters that were in it. But for what it could do.
Right. Well, we'll end it here with OGP's comment. He goes, he loves Better Call Saul seasons 1 and 2. They are slow. And he's cool with that as long as the story is solid. He doesn't need action. And if you went OGP to the Disney executives and said something like that for Star Wars, they'll be like, "All right, thanks for coming, sir. We appreciate your time. No action. We can't sell toys. We can't sell glowy sticks." But yeah, I'm surprised. That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised Andor's even a thing, and they let the people who did Rogue One have control. So far, with just 4 episodes in, we haven't been disappointed. So, and if it turns to shit, we're going to be the first ones to let you guys know. But yeah, we'll end the comment with that. You guys fucking rock.